Gaming Podcast. This is episode 13, and we're recording this live at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday, April 3rd. And I am John Callahan, and once again, I'm talking with Larry Cooney. How are you doing, Larry?
Good, John. How about you?
I'm doing good, sir, and of course, with us handling both the audio as well as the video portion of today's podcast is Tim from Australia. How you doing, Tim?
Hey guys, I'm doing pretty good right now. We changed back to changed off daylight saving time, so I'm actually recording this podcast an hour earlier at 9 a.m. But that doesn't, not to worry. I usually get up pretty early, so we're all good to go.
All right.
Great.
Good morning.
All right, well, excellent. So today is something a little different. We're Tim is going to be handling some video for us related to our the games and the topics that we're going to be discussing today. It's been a very interesting, as usual, week in terms of gaming. Unfortunately, not all of it has been good. Since our last podcast, there's been some layoffs at some major game publishers. One of them we kind of mentioned last week, which was just a rumor, but Sony confirmed it this past week, was that Zipper Interactive has been shut down. That was based in Washington, I believe, and these are the folks that made the SOCON games for the PlayStation 2 and the PlayStation 3. And as Larry mentioned, their last game was the PS Vita launch title, Unit 13, and the 80 developers are now looking for new work. And sorry to hear that. Always. Two more major layoffs to mention. Sega announced on Friday, early on Friday, that their financial situation is not as good as they first thought, and they've not only laid off a number of team members, and they've also canceled some games. They aren't going into any details about the situation. There's no word on how many people have been laid off or how many games have been canceled or what games were canceled. They were probably all games that were unannounced, but they said they're going to continue working on their established franchises, such as of course the Sonic games, the Total War franchise, and also the upcoming Aliens Colonial Marines, which Gearbox Software is working on. And the last one that happened, actually announced on Tuesday, was THQ, which has been laying off quite a few people in the past several months, but last week they did it again. They laid off over 100 people at their total at their Relic and Vigil studios. And what's more interesting is actually that they're one of the games that Vigil was working on, which was a Warhammer 40K MMO game. It's still being developed, but it's no longer going to be an MMO game. It's going to be some kind of other RPG game with single and multiplayer elements, but it won't be a full MMO game like World of Warcraft. And I have to say, in terms of good, of course we don't like it when people get laid off, and our thoughts goes to those people to find new jobs quickly. But at the same time, I have to say, I think in terms of changing the MMO to something else, I think that was probably a pretty good decision. The MMO space is very crowded, and unless you're going to get something like Star Wars The Old Republic from BioWare, it's probably not going to be very successful unless you just go with the free-to-play route, and I don't think that this game was really being created to be that kind of a title. So in terms of a business decision, I think that THQ made a good decision in terms of reducing the Warhammer 40K game into something else besides an MMO game.
Yeah, and for people like me, I'm more likely to play it if it's not an MMO, because I'm not an MMO person. So I think that it's personally good that they've decided to do that. But again, layoffs at any company is not a good situation. So it's kind of sad for the people who have to unfortunately be let go from these companies, but hopefully they'll find work at some other developer and continue to make good games.
Yep. Yep. As a matter of fact, I know that there was a campaign, actually, a Twitter campaign, when the THQ people were announced, that basically all these other companies and developers saying, "We've got jobs. Please join us. We would love to have jobs." So I think
that's good.
something good. I think something good will come out of this. So, but THQ has really been, they've had a lot of games that have not sold well. Homefront probably didn't sell as well as they was hoped. I know that the last Red Faction game was a bit of a bust in terms of sales. Other games have done okay. The Saints Row the Third, I think, sold okay, and their WWE wrestling games, I think, sell well. I think their biggest loss was actually that U-Draw device. You guys are familiar with that?
Yeah.
They came out with that for the Wii in 2010 for the casual game. It was a hardware device where you can actually draw and connect to the Wii and draw things for games. And that was actually a big success, so they decided, hey, let's go with the PS3 and the Xbox 360 for 2011. And nobody bought them for those platforms. I mean, at all. They said they had like over 1 million in inventory that went unsold, so that really hurt them a lot.
I swear I knew someone that had a U-Draw tablet. I was just wondering why. Like, it doesn't seem that good, but yeah, I guess it is a big loss for them.
It's a huge loss for them, and but I think the THQ is starting to, at least cut down on some of their projects that perhaps wouldn't be successful. We know that they have a number of games coming up. They've got Homefront 2, which is being developed by the folks at Crytek. That should be pretty cool, I hope. They've got a game, a first-person shooter, that's being developed by Turtle Rock Studios, which developed the first Left 4 Dead game until Valve basically came and bought the rights to that and took over development of it. But Turtle Rock actually developed the game up for the most part. And they got some other stuff in the works as well, so we'll see what happens. It should be, we'll probably learn more about the THQ's plans at E3. But Larry, what do you think about all these layoffs that are popping up?
As you guys said, it's definitely sad. Don't ever like anyone to lose their jobs, and I'd say I probably am most shocked, and maybe shocked's not the right word, but most upset, I guess, about Sega. They have some fond places in my heart, and good memories of the Dreamcast for starters, and then they did have some good titles over the years, so I think that's a bit disappointing, and I wish all of them good luck though. And THQ, I was a bit surprised at that one because I did think that Saints Row did really well for them, and I know Homefront wasn't as big as they'd like it to be, but never good news all around when people lose their jobs, and just wish them the best, and hopefully they get jobs real soon.
Yep, and this is kind of what I was talking about in a recent editorial, which was that the game industry, in terms of retail sales, in terms of retail games, the old-fashioned, go to the store and buy a disc and play it on your console, it started to disappear pretty quickly. And we're starting to see the big game developers cut jobs and cut projects because there's simply not a huge as big of an audience as there were even just a few years ago. As more and more people gravitate towards mobile gaming and downloadable games for consoles and the PC, I was just reading where there was a new survey of game developers, how much they're getting paid and where they're working and everything, and there was a huge boost in the salaries that independent game developers are making in 2011 compared to 2010, and it just shows that independent gaming of just one person or a small group of people releasing a small game are making pretty good money if you have a good product, and I think that kind of worries the big game publishers. who spend millions of dollars marketing a retail game and perhaps don't get the return that they would once get a few years ago.
Yeah, and of course it affects retailers like Game in the UK as well. I mean, that's part of the reason why they weren't being so successful. But yeah, I think that once the market fully moves over into the digital space, you'll start to see things will get better, and we'll stop hearing about the stats from the retail stores. We'll start hearing them about the online sales and how good they are because it's so easy. It's so easy to get. So I wouldn't say that retail stores shutting down so bad, but yeah, and also with the wider spread market saturation of online stores, you also get the independent developers getting a better deal because their games will be out there with all the other games online, and people will browse through and they'll see both the big name titles and the small developed titles as well. So it'll definitely be good for them as well.
Yep. What do you think, Larry?
I don't know. I'm kind of, I think here in the States that we're ready for the digital boom and everything to go digital, but from what I read online of people's comments and stuff, I'm not sure the rest of the world is ready to go all digital just yet. So I think it's kind of a weird situation where you have parts of the world and parts of the globe that are definitely ready to go all digital and just download everything to their hard drives. But then you have certain people where they still do have caps on their bandwidth monthly.
Like me.
Yes, I was about to ask. Yeah, what's your bandwidth cap down there, Tim?
Well, I've quite a considerable amount. I can download, I think, 250 gig a month. So it's really not restrictive or anything. But it's mainly the network speed itself. Like I don't have a particularly fast connection, and to download games, it's takes a long time, like 6 or more hours to get one game. So
wow.
Yeah. That's.
I'm sure we're talking about a retail game, not like a small, independent game, but a big retail game. Yeah,
I'm talking about like a full-size retail game. Download at like 5 or 6 gig. It's gonna take for me a long time to get that, and while that's downloading, it slows down my just regular internet browsing.
Yeah.
So, it's not that suited for us here, but internet connections are always getting better around the world. So eventually, everyone will be ready to download these quickly and. It'll be better than in the retail stores, but yeah, just not yet.
Yeah. Relating to that, I just wanted to quickly mention that since our last podcast, we mentioned that the game stores in the UK and Ireland had to shut down over half their stores and lay off over 2,000 people. This week we got some excellent news. The remaining stores are going to stay open, and over 3,000 people are going to be able to keep their jobs. In fact, I think some people who got laid off last week are actually going to be returning to work. This is because the game franchise has been bought out by Op Capital. And they will continue to run the game stores. And I think it's possible that part of the problems with the game in the first place is they probably expanded so much and they didn't, there just wasn't enough to support the amount of retail stores that they had. So I would imagine that the 300 some odd stores that they will have open in the UK now, they will probably be able to keep those financially stable.
It sounds like a lot, 300 for a country that's not exactly huge in terms of area. I mean, I know EB Games here in Australia has nowhere near as many stores as that, and our country is just vastly bigger. So I don't know.
Well, how many? I think doesn't the UK now don't they have over 50 million people, more or less, in terms of population?
Yeah, I guess that is a good point, but considering like a lot of them live in London, I mean. I guess they don't need like 2 stores across the road from each other, so who knows what all of them are.
I can tell you, living here in the U.S., there is practically 2 GameStops across the block from each other here.
Yeah, we actually have 2 EB Games in shopping centres that are across from each other, and even in one shopping centre while it was getting rebuilt, there was 2 EB Games in the one shopping centre that was like a 5-minute walk from each other. It was just ridiculous. Like, Oh well.
There are a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a lot of them. I mean, but GameStop has actually had some issues with some lower financial problems that they used to. But as I said, I think I said this in an earlier podcast. They're transitioning to these other digital fields with with buying the Impulse downloadable service for the PC, and they've got this Spawn Labs thing that they're testing out that will stream games to tablets and TVs and things like that. So they're working on that digital space. So they have some kind. At least I don't think that GameStop's going to totally disappear, even though they might have to shut down some stores eventually. So
yeah, I think that retail stores might do a bit better if they had more, hands-on gaming experiences in the store. Because if people walk into the store and they actually go down and play one of the games on the demo consoles and they really like it, I reckon they're more likely to buy it than if they just see the game cover on the shelf. So I don't know. I'll be interested to see if that something like that ever happens and it becomes more of like an interactive experience with buying games on the side, and if they can push it in that direction to sort of compete with the digital market, where obviously you can't play the games before you buy them. So
yeah. There was a very interesting rumor that popped up this week on VG247.com. I actually know the folks who run that site, and so they are not prone to post up stuff like this unless they know what they're talking about. Usually, the story was about the planned next Xbox console, which they're saying is definitely going to be coming out by late 2013, even though Microsoft probably won't reveal anything about it this year. Some of the details is that it will have a disk drive. There were some rumors of saying that Microsoft was going to get rid of the disk drive completely for their next Xbox console. This one, they're saying no, there will be a Blu-ray disk drive in the next Xbox. It will also have 2 GPUs. Although it won't be set up like there won't be anything that will link them together like an NVIDIA SLI or a AMD Crossfire, and the actual CPU will have between 4 to 6 processor cores. It will have Kinetic embedded inside the box, which is something I think that's not a huge shock to hear. Probably the most controversial part of this story is that they claim that they will require that the next Xbox will always be connected to the internet in order to keep pirates from doing something. If this is true, I'm not happy about that at all.
it sounds like that Ubisoft DRM all over again, but in the console.
It sure does. Let's just face facts. We love to play games sometimes, my internet connection goes out a lot. I don't know about you, Larry, and you, Tim, but I've been having some problems with my internet connection going out for a couple hours at a time in the past few weeks. And when if something like this happens, and my next generation Xbox is hooked up to it, I won't be able to play any games. That's not cool. What happens?
I can't see that being true. I mean, what about? All right, so getting back to what I was saying before, that there's people that don't have a lot of bandwidth. I mean, there's people that just don't have internet. They still exist, whether people like to believe it or not. It's true. And so, what about those people?
Developing markets.
Right. I mean, for example, my wife's half Filipino, and the Philippines, there's some very poor parts of that country, and
oh yeah,
I could promise you that they don't have internet. So how if they ever picked up the next Xbox, if it has to always be online, how would they even play it? It just, I can't fathom how that could even be real. But you never know. I mean, you really never know.
Yeah, I guess they might have to see what their sales are like in those regions and sort of make a hard decision. Maybe they'll make a hard decision that we have to have it always on. And I don't know, it also surprises me that they do it, because I mean, some people here have just rubbish internet connections, like out in the outback and that, and they might enjoy playing their Xbox, but if they have to have it always on, then they kind of can't. And another thing that sort of surprised me is with one of the previous rumors saying that there wasn't going to be a disk drive. It's sort of one of those other things, like if you're out in the country or out in a developing nation, you can't download games either. So I would definitely say that the disk drive rumor is true, that they're going to have to include a disk drive. But yeah,
right.
I would hope so.
Always on internet connection is kind of iffy, very iffy.
I just think that's a poor decision to make, and I think that if they do decide to do that, I think there will be a consumer revolt against that. I don't think that, and I think that again, none of this has been confirmed by Microsoft. Let's just say that right now. But there's been lots of rumors about not just this, but some kind of anti-game, anti-use game provisions that are being put into the next generation consoles that will force people to, either that will cut down on people buying used games for cheaper prices. I think that they're going to try something like if you get a used game, you play it and you only play it for a little bit, and then they'll ask you for some money. That's how they're going to do it. Kind of seems like
crap too, but I mean,
yeah. I rent a lot of games, and so this whole used game thing, I'm totally against it, because why shouldn't I be able to rent games anymore? That's the way I look at it. And
right.
Not only that, I mean, I'm old school. Me and my friends let each other borrow games when we're done with them.
Same here.
What's going to happen? Right. So what's going to happen?
You won't be able to do that anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. That just seems like a real bad decision all the way around.
And I get really annoyed when I read about developers saying that the used game industry is hurting them personally. I was reading that Dennis Dyack of Silicon Knights was ranting about the used game industry being bad. And here's the thing. You don't hear about the movie industry moaning about people buying used DVDs of their movies. Or TV people or the music industry complaining about people buying used CDs of their albums or anything like that. You just don't do that, and the reason, of course, is that used content like used DVDs or used CDs can actually help. It'll introduce people to new artists and new TV shows and new movies that they probably wouldn't be able to get a chance to do, and that might actually help future sales of new movies and TV shows and music. And I think that's the same. That's true for games as well. If you pick up a used game that you really like for a cheaper price and you really like it, then you're probably more apt to buy a new game, brand new $60 game from that same developer or that same publisher. Yeah, at least that's the way I see about it.
And also with the DLC on the games as well. Like, you might buy a used game for like $20, but then you might spend like even $30 or $40 on the DLC for the game as well, if you decide to really enjoy it. So it's not like it's the end of their revenue stream, because they can still make money through the extra content. So it also annoys me about the whole used thing, but eventually I think they'll get over it a bit. Sort of they'll realize, hang on, we actually can't do anything about this, and they'll stop whinging about it. At least hopefully.
I hope so too. I've got the whole DLC thing is other content entirely. I personally think that DLC content should be either very cheap or free. I think there's an argument to be made that DLC content actually helps sales of the game itself. And then of course you have things like these online pass that EA is trying to push. That is making people buy in order to play all multiplayer. I think that's kind of lame too. But I think that when you make a game, you should there is some argument to be made to create a DLC that actually adds content to the game. But if you're just unlocking stuff that's already there by paying for it, that's wrong. I really do think that's wrong.
I miss the days when developers would release like a huge patch that actually included like new features to the game.
Oh my gosh! It and Epic did that all the time when the original, Doom and Quake came out. They came out with patches that added new levels, new gameplay modes, and for free, and it was great. And I think that actually helps sales of the game going on. And we don't ever see that ever anymore.
You see it on mobile games all the time. Like you pay you pay your $2 for your game, and you get like unlimited future levels. But with the massive retail, the AAA games, it's something that just simply doesn't exist. They've sort of, figured out that, well, hang on, we can make money from this, so they figure that they have to do it every time. But, oh well, I guess that's just, the new market, I guess. Something you have to live with.
It's something you'll have to live with.
DICE did just update Battlefield with the pretty big update, though. I will give them that.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, they changed a decent amount of gameplay and stuff, so.
Yeah. VG247, I didn't actually report on this on the site, but VG247 also talked a little bit about the next PlayStation console. The main thing they wanted to talk about is that Sony wants to get ahead of Microsoft. They want to get the next PS console out before the next Xbox, sometime before the Xbox. And they're saying, I think they quote one unnamed publisher saying, Sony are completely in belief that they have the jump on Microsoft this time. You should be watching the timing of next year's E3 keynotes and who's going to go first. So that'll be interesting. See if because Sony was basically one of the last to release the PS3. So they want to get ahead of Microsoft this time. That should make some interesting competition.
Especially if it's really close.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think people's mind are kind of made up at this point. I mean, maybe that's just my opinion, but I think anyone who owns an Xbox right now is likely to buy the next Xbox, and anyone who owns a PS3 is likely to get the next PS4. And then there are those people like me who own both and are happy with both. But I think if there's people that are dedicated to one console or the other, I don't know if anyone's changing anyone's mind anytime. I just don't know if it will happen.
There'd have to be a game-changing feature for dedicated users to switch. I mean, I have an Xbox, only an Xbox, so I think that my next purchase will most likely be another Xbox. But if there's a game-changing feature on the PS4, who knows? Maybe I'll pick it up. But
yep, we'll see. I thought I'd quickly mention that today the PS3 actually added a new video service, the Amazon Instant Video. If you subscribe to the Amazon Prime service, you can now watch streaming movies and TV shows from Amazon Instant Video on your PS3.
Really?
This is kind of you can now this just launched today, at least for the U.S. It's basically similar to Netflix, but this is the first time that the Amazon Instant Video has been on any of the game consoles, and it's for the PS3 first. So that's kind of interesting.
I will check it out because I am an Amazon Prime member. So
well, you'll be able to get that thing right away and check it out right now. Yeah, that's
sweet.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll definitely check it out and report back.
Yep. Just quickly, we just posted this on the site just a few minutes ago. Actually, there's a new rumor about the Wii U. Specifically, its graphics hardware. Two unnamed developers have basically said that the Wii U graphics are not as powerful as the Xbox 360 or the PS3, which is kind of contradictory to what we've heard, that the Wii U will be at least a little bit more powerful than the current generation consoles that Microsoft and Sony has. And so obviously none of this has been confirmed, and Nintendo probably won't confirm anything until E3 in 2012, which is about 2 months away now, actually. So what do you guys think about this? Is this credible? Do we buy this?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, considering Nintendo's past hardware choices, it wouldn't surprise me at all. But I don't think it'll affect the games at all. I mean, most of Nintendo's games are usually very gameplay focused, and they can still be great without having fantastic graphics. So I don't see it as a huge problem, especially for their game market. So, but I wouldn't.
Yeah. But I got the impression with the Wii U that they kind of wanted to change that game market and go after the core audience. And if if that is the case, the truth is people like their graphics. And if the newer consoles coming out by Sony and MS are going to be that much better, then they're not going to get that core audience that I thought they wanted. Maybe they don't, and they're fine with their same casual fan base, but I was kind of under the impression they wanted to get like more of the hardcore gamers, and if it's not better graphics, then they're gonna have a hard time doing that, I think.
Yeah. I guess with the hardcore market though, I mean, this tablet controller thing, it just looks ridiculous. Like I don't want to.
It does.
I don't want to game on this. Like I far prefer my Xbox controller to this whopping massive, I'm guessing fairly heavy, tablet thing. So it would surprise me if they're trying to target hardcore, gamers with this. I mean, it's just weird, very weird.
Yep. See, Nintendo with the original Wii, the remote, the Wii console, you got it. You got it instantly when you saw it and you saw it being formed. You understood what it was. You understood how this could affect gameplay in games, and it looked like the greatest thing you ever saw. And with this tablet thing, I'm just at a loss to explain how is this going to improve my gameplay in any way, other than make it harder for me to hold a controller and have to look at both the tablet screen and the main screen. I don't know. Because let's face it, most people when they play a game, they don't look at the console. They just hit it. They just feel the buttons and hit buttons and things like that. So I'm going to have to pay attention to both the console and screen and the main screen. That seems kind of silly.
Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah.
I'll have to use it myself to see what it's like, I think.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely be at E3. I'm definitely I might as well just announce I'm going to E3 in like a little over 2 months from now, and we'll be there to report on everything, just as we were last year. So it'll be pretty, at least from Nintendo's standpoint, it'll be a very interesting year. Not sure what Microsoft and Sony are going to do, since they're not going to have any next generation console announcements. So we'll see what happens. Just wanted another quick mention. Kinetic Star Wars came out today. This is the long-awaited kind of one of the flagship Kinetic titles that Microsoft actually announced, quite a while ago in some form, and now the game is out. You can actually read a review of it on our site by Byron, who got a chance to get the game beforehand, and his review is not too good. As you can probably see if you check out the review, you'll see that the verdict is 6.0, and
that's actually good compared to most.
Oh yeah.
It definitely is, and I think he's right. I think it's definitely geared more for the casual gamer, the Star Wars fan who probably doesn't play, a lot of console games. It's definitely not geared for hardcore gamers such as us, it sounds like. And, it's also coming out in April, which I think is going to be tough in terms of sales. So any game that has a dancing, game mode could not be considered to be a hardcore game by any means.
Yeah, I mean, if you take a look at this video that I'm showing right now, hopefully I'm showing it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you are.
It looks kind of silly. And I mean, especially this bit here where the dude is like swinging his arms around it. He just looks ridiculous in his living room. I mean,
yeah,
and the combat looks slow. Like looking at it, like watching him do his moves and all that, it doesn't seem like the epic battles that I was used to in Star Wars. Especially Episode 3, where it had the epic battle between Obi-Wan and Anakin. I mean. And this dancing thing is just stupid.
I'm watching the dancing stuff now. Holy crap. Seriously?
That was Kotaku's biggest beef with the combat. They said, like, the only way it works is that you got to be super slow and super deliberate, and, like, that it's just horrible. And Kotaku actually has some really funny dancing GIFs on their page right now of all different, just all the Star Wars dancing. I recommend people go check it out. It's hilarious.
I mean, that's the dancing is just horrible. I mean, why would you include that in a serious Star Wars game? It's just incredibly stupid.
It really is.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh well.
If I could say one other thing, John, it drives me nuts, and I have to correct you finally. You call Kinetic, you call Kinect Kinetic. and
I
it's
do. I'm
Kinect.
sorry. It's
Yeah, I noticed that.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I do. That's a bad thing to me.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't nuts. Okay.
You are. You're not nuts. Yeah, I'm sorry
Okay.
about that.
Just a big physics fan.
Yeah.
I always thought
so-
it was Kinetic.
Yeah. But oh well.
Well, anyway, Tim, you actually got to play Syndicate, a game which Australia is technically has banned from being sold, as I understand it.
Yeah.
What did you think about the game?
I won't lie, I pirated it. I'm just going to put that out right now. It's banned here. I pirated it. I mean, come on, it's not available. What else am I supposed to do? But
All right.
just now,
So you weren't even. I mean, you didn't. So basically, the publisher didn't really lose any money from you anyway because you couldn't even buy the game if you wanted to.
yeah, pretty much. But I've just showed you some gameplay here. It's actually the gameplay itself. It's pretty fun. I mean, you've got these like, what do they call them in the game? They're like, I don't know. They're like electric hacks or something, where you can send like. The people in the game all have these like chips implanted in their brains that they give them the heads-up display that you're seeing here, and they enhance their combat abilities. But you can actually like hack their chips and cause them to like kill themselves and start attacking
Right.
their enemies via these.
I heard about that. Yeah.
Whatever you call them, and like here right now is this like dart overlay thing where it puts it in slow motion briefly, and things like that are pretty cool, and I did enjoy stuff like that, but I was finding it a bit hard to follow the story. I mean, it's very combat oriented, and I think that people like you, Larry, would like it because it's it's good for a first person shooter. But I am enjoying it. I'm definitely enjoying it, but it's not it's not amazing or anything. And just on the violence, actually. I can see sort of why they refuse classification here. There's some bits where you like get a minigun sort of chain gun thing, and you can like cut people up with it. Like you see dismembering, like them getting cut in half and stuff.
Right. I think that was the main reason why I got banned, is the dismembering of humans.
Yeah, and there's the whole thing like you can force people to kill themselves. It's sort of like kind of strange. It's probably not as bad as some of the other games that they've banned, and I mean, they've definitely allowed games that are sort of similar in terms of violence to it. So I don't know. It's kind of strange, but it's not awesome, but it's probably worth a check. Probably worth looking, checking it out if you're into first-person shooters. So
yeah, I've
That's
heard
my sort
actually that the co-op modes are actually quite fun, and probably the best aspect of the game. And I guess you haven't tried that part of it yet.
no, I haven't. I think it might require an online pass, and I'm not sure that I want to pay for that. So,
Right.
or if I can even buy it, I'm not sure if I can. But maybe I'll check that out.
Yep.
No,
Um,
I checked out the online co-op, the demo of it, and it definitely was a lot of fun. I think I plan on checking it out one day, just for that part, because the demo of it was, like I said, good fun. So you might want to check out that pass.
Yeah,
if
and
you
also
could even get it.
I'm playing it on hard difficulty, and it's not particularly hard. I do have to say, like, I mean, some of the combat scenes are a bit trying, but it's not all that difficult. So I was kind of surprised about that, but not really a game changer, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Also wanted to quickly mention we interviewed Christian Allen, who's the head of a new game development studio called Sirlan. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. He launched a Kickstarter campaign to help fund what was previously called just Hardcore Tactical Shooter, and later he actually changed his Kickstarter campaign and gave it an official name called Takedown. Just wanted to quickly mention that it came close. It was close, but in the end, he managed to get his $200,000 funding in time. And so it looks like they're going to move forward with our project. So congratulations to folks, to Christian and the folks at Surland. I think they barely made it with just a few hours to spare. And so good luck to them. And if you want to read our interview about that, you can check that out on our site. It was actually posted a few weeks ago, but I think it's pretty. It sounds like it sounds like we're going to get a game that's actually going to be a good, solid tactical shooter that's not in the Call of Duty Battlefield mode. And I guess that's all I have to talk about today. Any other topics you guys wanted to bring up?
Yeah, well, I've just basically been playing Syndicate, so I haven't actually been doing much else in the gaming space this week. I'll probably finish that pretty soon because it's not particularly long. So moving on to whatever else is on my stack of things to try out. Definitely not Kinect Star Wars.
Definitely not that. Yeah.
I just wanted to mention the fact that I thought it was interesting that with the patch today for Battlefield, it was announced that 360 players, and I believe PS3 players as well with the patch, now have the option to rent servers for Battlefield 3 on the consoles.
I actually got an email about that, yeah.
Yeah, and I just I thought that was kind of interesting because it's, that's something that PC gamers are used to for quite some time now, and I'm not sure how it's going to work out for them in the long run, and I'd really think that the only people that are interested in doing it would be clans and stuff like that, and I'm not sure if your average Joe would be the type of person to go and rent a server.
And it's not cheap.
No, it isn't. I think it's $25 a month or something like that, or like
$1
or
$2 a day or something. It's not.
Yeah.
Well, so
cheap.
basically, it could be between $30 to $60 a month. That's not chump change. Yeah.
No, not at all. So I thought that was kind of interesting because it just seems like a weird decision for the console space. So I'm curious to see how that pans out.
Well, it's like you said, it's definitely something that the PC first-person shooter fans are used to for years and years, either setting up their own free servers or renting servers from a third party.
Right.
But like you said, it's something different it's something that hasn't really been done too much in the console space. But at the same time. At the same time, the console space, in terms of first-person shooters nowadays, is much bigger than the PC space. So, there might be a few there might be enough hardcore gamers on the console space in order to make this viable. We'll see what happens.
But the thing I question the most though isn't that what you're technically paying Xbox Live? Like, isn't that why people spend money on Xbox Live to get the multiplayer gaming?
It's true in some ways. I think some clans and some teams probably would like to have more control over what kind of options they would like to have in terms of playing games, in terms of setting up gameplay modes and things like that. And then maybe they don't they feel like they don't have the freedom that they would normally have in rather limited console space, where basically Microsoft and Sony are just controlling everything. So. Right. Yeah, and that's one of the beauties about the PC platform, is that even though there's a lot of issues in terms of lots of different platforms you have, hardware configurations a game has to support. The upshot of all this is that there's also a lot more freedom for the user to download mods, to set up servers, and to basically create the kind of gameplay experience they want, as opposed to what the console companies want you to have. So, so that's go ahead.
Other than that, the game I'm playing this week is a game called Closure. It was just released on the PSN. It's possibly the hardest game I've ever played, and I hate it. It's like a puzzle. I love I love the art style. It's very cool. But it's like a puzzle puzzle-based platformer is the best way to describe it, and it seriously is the most annoyingly hard puzzle game I've ever played, and I regret spending $14.99 on it. So
Wow,
just wanted to.
that's a lot.
Yeah, yeah, that's usually what they charge. Well, certain PSN games when they first come out, it's usually $14.99 for certain ones, and this was one of them. And it's getting really good reviews. I think last time I checked, it was averaging around an 80 on Metacritic. But maybe these people that are playing it are just smarter than me. Yep. Tim brought it up right now. Has a very cool style, and I gotta say the sound is phenomenal. The sound really adds to the whole creepy level of it all, and maybe I'll eventually get it, but like right now, it's incredibly hard. There's no other way to put it. I love the visual style. Honestly, the visual style is what made me pick it up, because I love the visual style, and they had a demo for it, so I tried out the demo, and I dug the demo, and I was like, I like supporting smaller indie, because it says right in the beginning of the game, it's 3 guys. Yep, right there. Literally 3 guys made it, so I was like, oh, let me support it. I love the style, I love the soundtrack. I think I'm on like level 8, and I've already been stuck for like a half hour on level 7. Like, I'm not even kidding.
I've got the sound for the soundtrack here, but I'm not broadcasting it. But it does sound very good. I do have to agree with you there.
Oh no, it's the style, the visual style, awesome. The sound, I cannot speak highly of it. Like, the sound is fantastic, but it's just so damn hard. It's unbelievable. Like, if you guys are seeing the gameplay, the whole premise is, as long as you're in the light, you're cool, and if you fall into the darkness, that's it. So simple enough premise, but like the execution is really hard. Like, I'm on this one level now. I don't know if I'm ever going to figure it out, and it's only like level 8. So, and I'm looking at this trailer, and it looks so damn cool, and like the levels that I'm on are so simplistic compared to what I'm seeing right here. I want to get further, but I don't know. I was searching the internet last night, hoping that someone had a walkthrough up, and it turns out that this was actually based on I guess when these guys first released it, it was a browser-based game, a Flash-based browser game. And so I found the walkthrough for the original one, which didn't help me at all, because it's all new levels and stuff like that. So maybe once a walkthrough comes out and I figure out how to get past this one level, I'll enjoy it. But wow, it's a really, really challenging game. And if people like those type of puzzle games, and that's like supporting indie games, I definitely recommend maybe checking it out. But it's hard. You will definitely be challenged.
Yeah,
so
I love puzzle games.
I might.
Yeah, I don't have a PlayStation 3, so I can't play it, unfortunately.
I will. I think I'll actually check this out just by looking at the video. I'll definitely be prepared for a really hard gaming experience. But it looks like unlike any game I've seen in quite a while. I think the last game it kind of looks similar to is Limbo.
Yeah.
But this one looks even more graphically stark than that game. So I'll definitely be checking that.
Check it out. Yeah, let me know if you do. I'd be curious to hear what you say, and if it's just I'm an incredible idiot and I can't figure these puzzles out.
I'm sure you're not. I'm sure it's very, very hard.
It is.
I think probably a lot of critics probably like this. It's challenging.
Yep.
I want to quickly say we've got some upcoming gaming content we're going to be posting up soon on Neowin. We've got some interviews coming up in the next, hopefully the next couple of days, including one with Trent Oster, formerly of BioWare, and now of Beamdog, who is developing the Baldur's Gate Enhanced Editions. I'm really looking forward to hear what he has to say about that game. Also, we've got an interview with High Res Studios about Tribes Ascend. That's actually going to be officially launching on April 12th, which is very, very soon. We'll be having an interview with someone from High Res talking about the resurrection of the Tribes franchise and some other stuff. We've got some other stuff that we've got in the works on the gaming side, so be prepared for that. And I guess that's going to do it for us. Again, if anyone else wants to quickly talk about something.
Yep, I'm good.
I think we're good. All right. Excellent. Next week we will be here next week, and I'm sure we'll have tons of stuff to talk about. But until then, this is John Callahan, signing off for Larry and Tim, and we really appreciate you guys listening in that listened in live, and also people who are listening to this recorded via recording. We really appreciate your both your comments and your suggestions, and it's because of you guys that we've been slowly and steadily improving, I think, the podcast. First with just a recorded podcast, and then a live podcast, and now this week we've got video. And hopefully we'll be putting in some other stuff in the weeks to come.
Yeah, and I can
Absolutely.
I'm always capable of doing the live gameplay straight from my Xbox 360, so that's something that we might do in the future. So
yes, definitely. We'll definitely be doing that, and hopefully I'm actually been trying to get some live guests, some live game developer guests, and I was supposed to actually get one last week, but unfortunately that didn't quite work out. But we're going to get hopefully get some game developers in for future editions of the podcast. And so, like I said, we're slowly but surely adding to our various episodes every week, and again we really appreciate you guys checking us out and listening and now watching the podcast every week. So again, for Larry and Tim, this is John Callahan, and we will see you guys next week. Until then, see you later. Bye-bye.
bye.
Bye-bye.